Welcome to Superstitions, Traditions, and Definitions. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Carol.
Today is Superstitions.
Yay!
I
We're always so excited for our superstitions and our weird shit that you find.
know. I love weird shit.
I know it. Go get it.
Okay.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Today,
Uh-huh.
it is October.
October
It is
all month, not just today.
Oh, that's true. It is spooky season.
Fabulous.
I know.
We love it. And fall and
And fall.
leaves and less hot weather.
Oklahoma forgot that part.
They did. It's like, what is it, 85?
Nights are nice though.
They are. Mornings are good too.
Mornings are good.
It's like 56 degrees.
Yeah.
I could do that all day.
Me too.
I could do less, but you probably don't want much less than that.
No.
No. 56 is good for you?
Yes.
Okay, I will will it to be so.
All right.
Okay.
Mid-50s to mid-60s is
Sure.
perfect for me.
All right, what are we doing? Spooky season.
All right.
October.
Spooky season, October, Halloween, all the good stuff that my children are so excited about.
Yeah, and their parents.
Uh-huh.
Okay, spill it.
Vampires.
Not really. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I've watched vampire movies like all week. There's a new Salem's Lot on HBO Max. Salem's Lot is a Stephen King book
Oh, okay.
that I read in junior high, and when I probably shouldn't have read it in junior high, like Christine and Carrie and all those that nobody should have read in junior high. And then I watched Interview with the Vampire yesterday, which is fabulous. Both good books,
Okay.
both good movies. Not a big fan. So it's funny that you say vampires because that's
because you
we're
have
channeling
been
it
preparing
without even knowing it.
without even knowing.
Because you don't tell me stuff.
I don't. I keep it a secret.
It's more fun that way.
It is.
Yay. Okay, so what do we got? What are we doing?
Okay, so
what's the dealio?
We know a lot of like traditional, what we think is traditional vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of originated with Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Ooh.
So what we know and associate with vampires comes from there.
Mm-hmm.
However, vampires have been around since the ancient of times because everything has been around since the ancient of times.
Nothing is new.
Nothing is new.
The Greeks did it all.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
The Greeks, the Mesopotamians, the Hebrews had vampires.
Sweet.
I know. So they were blood-drinking demonic entities that appeared in these cultures.
Oh my God, you make it sound so scary. Entities.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm. They weren't necessarily the dead resurrecting to drink your blood.
Okay.
Which is where our modern version comes from.
Yes. Drinking your blood to remain youthful and alive and
all the good stuff.
Then they can't eat cupcakes and cookies and stuff. It's just got to be blood.
I know.
Blood all the time.
Blood all day. The time.
Only blood.
So in the Mesopotamia, they had ikimu.
Okay.
They were spirits of the deceased.
Yes.
So they really were. If a dead person wasn't given a proper burial.
What do we consider proper?
You'll have to talk to an ancient Babylonian or Assyrian to find out.
Why would you bring this to me? Why do you do that? You know that I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to be like, bitch, I ain't got nothing.
I ain't got nothing.
Okay. Means you got something if we're going to go the double negative route, but that's just fun to say it that way.
I know.
You don't got nothing.
I ain't got it. I ain't
got
nothing.
Zero.
That's right.
Okay, fine. We'll move on.
I don't know what a proper burial was to them. I know that this time burying the dead was a huge ceremony type thing. Like sometimes would last days.
Okay.
It was
Is this where you kept the dead body in a casket in your living room? Or is that later?
That is Victorian era. This is like pre-Jesus.
Oh.
So this is ancient world.
Okay.
Back when they had 572 gods.
It's a lot to keep up with.
yeah. I mean, I guess they had to, like, the mummification process in Egypt took 70 days.
Ew.
So
Ew.
burial was a huge ordeal and
It's a
process.
process.
And I mean, I guess if
You
you
gotta be
cut it
committed.
short at 68 days, that wasn't proper,
Not
and they were
proper.
coming back.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um,
Makes sense.
but without a proper burial, they could not enter the underworld, which they had a lot of the same beliefs that, like, the Egyptians, they find all the weird relics in the tombs that were there to assist with
Your life in
the
the
afterlife
afterworld.
and the travel and the whatever you had to do.
When you had a boat and all your servants.
Right. And
all
you
this...
needed coins to pay sticks and all of that stuff. So all of these had similar beliefs. And the afterworld, underworld, afterlife was a big to do.
Kind of like afterworld. That's kind of
Afterworld,
cool.
I combined the two.
Yeah, I know.
I know. I
That's
like
pretty
it.
cool.
That's what we are.
That will be our thing.
The afterworld.
Yes, the afterworld. Anyway,
so they couldn't enter the underworld without a proper burial and all of the stuff that goes along with that.
Okay.
If they didn't get it, they would roam the earth, draining the life force,
looking for blood.
From not necessarily blood.
How would you take it otherwise?
These folks weren't. Blood wasn't the life force. It was your essence and soul, and
it's easier to take somebody's blood. I would think.
I would think so too. You can actually see that.
Okay. Yeah.
But I guess if you're dead, you can, I don't know, maybe you can see the soul drain.
Probably not.
You don't think so?
I think if you're dead, you don't see much. But
these folks believed you did.
Well, they could believe you did all day long, but that doesn't mean you did.
True that.
All right.
The ancient Greeks and Romans, they had several different entities that were like precursors to modern vampires.
Such as?
They had Impusa, who was
Impusa?
Impusa.
Oh, okay.
She was a shape-shifting creature. Was female. She would drink the blood of her victims, just for fun, I guess.
Okay.
I don't really know why.
That was my question. Was how come?
I don't know.
No.
There was also Lamia, who was a beautiful queen who had been cursed by Hera.
Oh.
Turned into a monster that preyed on children.
Marvelous.
And drank their blood.
Children's blood?
Mm-hmm. And I guess it was fresher.
That was what I was going to say, but you beat me to it.
Oh, okay. Not the old man's blood.
No, we don't want that tired old shit.
We want
crack open the fresh stuff.
The fresh stuff. They also had Strix, which was a nocturnal bird-like creature that fed on the flesh and blood of humans.
Okay, a bird. But they usually eat seeds and nuts and stuff like that?
Not this one.
Unless they're a blood demon.
This is a blood demon bird.
All right.
And it is going to eat the flesh of humans.
Right off your pea-picking little bones.
Mm-hmm.
Peck, peck, peck.
Peck, peck, peck.
Okay. Interesting.
Ancient.
I'm just here for the... Okay. Yeah.
Uh-huh. that was the Greeks and the Romans.
Okay, those I've never heard of.
I
like to think I'm a vampire aficionado a bit.
Well,
I've read a lot and watched a lot. Wrote a book.
You did. Mm-hmm. You did that. All of that.
Yeah.
I thought I was too until I got to looking, and I mean, I am familiar with the folklore of vampires, beginning with Bram Stoker and that era.
Right.
That's where most of our stuff comes from.
That's our era. We're not from the way back.
No. I didn't realize it went this far back.
I mean, Bram is before our time, of course. But
hair.
Yes, but he's just a wee tiny bit, I guess.
A couple of centuries.
Yeah, but closer than some of the other stuff that we're talking about with the carcass pecking bird that's after your blood and shit like
they
that.
weren't carcass pecking; they were live people pecking.
Okay, when they're pecking I like to think that at some point you're going to die.
I would hope.
Yeah. So are they really that picky?
I'm thinking they saw vultures
And thought,
yeah,
that's
like,
a vampire
kind of
bird
creepy.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Look at them eating dead bodies.
They are doing a service.
And then by the time it made it through all of the little village, I was just standing there and this bird came and tried to eat my flesh. They forgot that it was a vulture eating a dead raccoon.
Or some stuff like that. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I think that's how a lot of this stuff happens, was somebody saw something and they were like, I gotta tell people. And then by the time the entire village found out,
they played telephone.
It was the worst game of telephone that survived centuries.
And people wrote stories and made
people wrote
movies
stories
and scared their children.
Defended it
to the death.
To the death.
To the death.
Right. I mean, they wrote books about their unicorns and
just unicorns.
Their travels, seeing all these weird creatures.
Did unicorns drink blood too? Is that part of the way? No, we're not going to mix that in.
We aren't.
Okay.
We're not going to mix that in.
Gotcha.
Ancient Hebrew. They even had their own.
Really?
Her name was Aluka.
Aluka?
Uh-huh.
Sounds Hawaiian.
It really does, yeah.
Yes. Anyway, if it's Hebrew, it's definitely not Hawaiian.
No, they didn't really mix and mingle back then.
They weren't, geographically friendly.
No, not really.
For lack of a better way to put it. Anyway, Aluka.
Aluka was a demon spirit that preys on the living, draining their life force.
Okay.
They also had Estries.
Okay.
She was a shapeshifter who drained the life force.
Everybody's big on life force. What about cellulite? Just drain some of my fucking cellulite and we'd be right? Why has it always got to be life force, essence, blood? Come on, help a sister out.
Know.
You're already dead. I still have a chance.
Right? I would be hunting some of these guys down if they would drain fat and cellulite.
Let's pack a bag.
They were real big on...
You sat straight up right for that.
Because listen, so
okay, all right.
I have a theory about this.
I'm all excited to hear it.
They liked heftier body types.
Well, sure.
So perhaps when they say life force, that's what they mean is fat. And then they have all these skinny people roaming around. And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Not interested. Too much effort.
Luca got you. And so now I'm on a mission to find her.
Yep. Because she missed one.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of us.
Just a few.
She missed us.
So the Middle Ages, they are all about superstitions. And they had to have an answer for everything. And science wasn't their friend.
I would like an answer for everything. But here you are.
Yeah.
Not telling me stuff.
I know. I know it. So... they were real big on just giving a reason for things.
Just making something up.
Basically.
It out there.
Yeah. So like to us, we're like, dude, what were you smoking? But to them, science wasn't a thing.
They were serious about it.
It made sense.
Okay.
We're talking about the time when the Bubonic Plague was rampant. There were also other diseases that weren't excessively common, but were fairly common. And they needed to blame something. Sure. So before the Pope helped us blame cats.
Yes. And then let the rats over.
And then, we
overrun.
At first,
good people, kill everybody.
Yeah. So first we blamed vampires.
Sure.
Vampires were spreading the plague.
Damn it.
I know. That was rude.
Just kill people if that's what you're going to do. You don't have to wipe everybody out.
Yes.
But that's what they did apparently.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Not vampires.
They acted up real bad.
Sounds like it.
Anything that had any kind of symptom that they couldn't explain. If there was sores, what were some other things? So lesions were a sign of vampirism.
A sign of you being a vampire or of a
Of
vampire
being attacked
Okay.
by a vampire. There was a condition, a disease called porphyria. It is one that is known now. It's a blood disorder that presents primarily when you're in the sun. It's a skin condition, presents like a skin condition, but it's a blood disorder.
So it's not a sunburn.
No,
Those hurt.
Yeah,
It
is. It is far worse than a sunburn. You get real itchy. If you're out for exposed periods of time, you get lesions, like leprosy, kind of.
Bad deal.
Yes. Goiters.
Really?
And rabies.
You can develop rabies.
They
thought
you got goiters and rabies from vampire attacks.
Okay. They spread rabies.
Right. Well, you also have to keep in mind at this time there was no vaccine or anything for rabies, and you just took the person out, chained them to a tree, and let it kill them in several days.
Bad deal.
Yeah. They would foam at the mouth, kind of go crazy.
I mean, I would too if I was tied to a tree.
Right. And there was nothing you could do to cure rabies.
No.
And so the only thing they could do to save themselves was to take them out in the middle of nowhere, secure them so they can't follow you back, and just let the rabies eat them, which took several days. But it was
rather barbaric. It's scary.
Yeah. Well,
before medicine and vaccines and things of that nature. Yeah.
And you
don't get bit by vampires.
You'll get the plague and all sorts of stuff.
And rabies.
And rabies and goiters and all sorts of maladies.
Might get dead.
You might get dead.
Interesting.
So they had rather creative ways,
I'll bet,
to ward off vampires.
Oh.
Are the traditional
garlic, salt, holy water.
Not necessarily salt or holy water. There was no holy water at this time because
there was. If you're like, holy shit, I better bless this, and I got vampires on my trail.
They did use like religious symbols like the cross or the fish or things like that to ward off vampires. Garlic was a big one.
They slap them with fish.
The symbol of the fish was a religious symbol. It still is.
It still is.
Yeah. And they would just wear those.
Just wear fish.
But garlic in particular. So religious relics were religious relics. They cured everything. And they always have for
Why didn't they cure rabies?
Somebody's malfunctioned, I guess. I don't know. Some of them malfunctioned.
Yes,
and they didn't cure what they were supposed to.
Relic.
It happens.
Just ain't working today.
Right.
Gotcha.
Garlic, however. The belief that garlic wards off vampires comes from the disease porphyria. So it was a blood disorder,
right,
that presented on the skin.
Okay.
Garlic is a medicinal herb. It is a potent medicinal herb that was used extensively during this time to cure a number of things. It was used to treat wounds. Garlic is an antimicrobial. It's an antibiotic. It's
good in spaghetti.
It tastes good in spaghetti. It's is an antioxidant. It improves blood circulation. All of these good things, and they realized that
it gives you horrible breath.
It does give you horrible
breath. So that
breath.
should be enough to keep the vampires away from you. they shouldn't want anything to do with you.
Exactly.
They're like, well, hell.
I mean, and that's kind of what I always thought was, oh, it smells bad. So vampires must have an excellent sense of smell.
Yes, and they don't want to be anywhere near the garlic.
Right. However, so they would use garlic to treat wounds.
Right. I bet that hurt.
Probably. I
Yeah.
mean, I would imagine it burned.
Well, next time you get a cut, just rub some garlic in
I'm
there.
not.
No, you're not going to do
No.
that? It's tried and true.
Woolly lamb's ear.
No.
It works better. It is also an antimicrobial and an antibiotic.
Use garlic.
And it's just a leaf you stick.
And then you're all better?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yep. However,
yes,
people who have porphyria, because of the allicin in garlic that improves blood circulation,
okay,
it is counteractive to this disease and exacerbates it.
Really?
So when the people with this disease would get the lesions and they would treat it with garlic, as was common, it would make it worse.
Because vampires don't like garlic.
So now that's how that association of vampires not liking garlic came to be.
Okay.
Also,
because it made your unrelated lesions worse.
Right.
Okay.
It was like a hemoglobin disorder
Sure.
in the blood. And so circulation, when you improve things like that, it is counterintuitive to this disease. So they were like, oh, that's a problem.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I don't know what made them decide to test this, but they
probably just going through the house and threw everything at it that they had.
I mean, maybe, but so what I was talking about, what made them decide the porphyria, a temporary relief for porphyria, was ingesting blood.
How would you discover such a thing?
That's what I want to know. What made them think,
let's drink some freaking blood and see what happens?
Yes.
Maybe it will purify your blood if you get better blood.
And essentially that's what it does. It's temporary. But essentially that's exactly what it does. The components of blood that are lacking in somebody with hemorrhagia, healthy blood replenishes for a minute and alleviates temporarily some symptoms.
So if your blood isn't up to snuff, drink somebody else's.
So that's where the association of vampirism and garlic comes into play.
Because you have poor, unhealthy blood.
Yes.
And you need better blood.
And you need better blood.
So you need some garlic to
and
help
garlic
you out.
Did not help you out.
Oh, that's right. Garlic didn't.
Garlic
made you worse.
Yes, garlic made you worse when typically the antimicrobial and antibiotics in garlic was healing.
So you just need to find somebody with healthier blood and drain them.
And drink it. I mean, then you're going to die from drinking blood because that is also toxic too. But
no, I think it's fine.
Okay.
I think it must be okay. Because, I've seen movies. They're fine.
They're eventually.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Yes.
When they suspected somebody had been bitten by a vampire, it was usually
Did they burn them at the stake? No, those are just witches. They didn't burn them, though. They drowned them.
They did.
Yeah.
And hung them.
Anyway.
And in Scotland for about 50 years, they burned them at the stake.
Oh, my goodness. Not vampires, though.
Not vampires.
We're going to give them a pass?
No. So the vampires were already done.
But why are they out walking around and biting people then?
Because they popped up out of their grave.
That's not cool.
It's rude. When I put you in a grave, I expect you to stay there.
Stay there.
That is why I put so much dirt on top of you.
That's right.
But vampires, they did not listen.
It doesn't sound like it.
So they used the relics in the garlic to scare off vampires.
Did it work?
If that didn't work and a vampire came, well, then they had to fix it. So, in
Okay.
order to fix it, they had to dig up the body of the suspected vampire
Okay.
and they had to inspect them for signs of vampirism.
Like what?
A lack,
Biting your finger when you open the casket?
no, a lack of decomposition was a sign.
Okay, well, how long are we talking?
Sometimes days, sometimes weeks. It wasn't ever like, oh, they've been dead for a century. It
Well,
was the
okay,
recent
well, yeah,
dead.
good, okay.
Yeah.
You have some skeleton walking around pretending to be a vampire.
Yeah.
That presents a whole
that is a whole
bevy
nother
of
monster.
troubles.
That is a zombie.
Well, if there's nothing here but
And that
skeletal remains, where are they going to
right.
suck your blood? What's that going to do? It's just going to spurt out the back.
Exactly.
No good. Waste of time.
Yes. So a lack of decomposition was a sign of vampirism.
Okay.
As was bloating, or essentially signs of decomposition.
Right. Right. That's a sign.
Of vampirism. And the presence of blood outside of the body of the dead person.
Oh, so if you're a vampire and you had a little on you, then busted.
If they didn't get your body cleaned up better or well when they stuck you in the ground and they had to dig you up to see and you died bleeding from your nose,
vampire.
You were going to be a vampire.
They're going to burn you.
So what they did,
yes,
to prevent them from coming back and killing more people,
sure, that's always a good thing. I mean, being diligent.
Being diligent.
Yes.
They would run a stake through the hearts of the dead.
That's a big part of lore.
It is and it came from this. However, it wasn't necessarily that a wooden stake would kill a vampire.
Okay.
The sole purpose of doing that was to pin you to the ground so you couldn't get up. Okay. So they would leave you there where you are buried and just bore a stake through your thoracic cavity into the ground so you could not come back. You couldn't get out. You were stuck. They nailed you to the ground.
Well, if I can come back from the dead, I can probably pop that thing out.
They were fairly certain you could not.
Maybe I could. If I can, laugh at all the rules of the natural law, I could maybe be able to get the stake out.
You would think that. But they were fairly certain you would not be smart enough to pull that out.
Okay. You just lay there and flounder.
You would just lay there and be like, I can't, I'm
stuck. Stuck, that's it. That's the end.
I have no idea why
or lay here forever. I won't try to figure it out.
But look, I got this cool stick.
Man, if I could get out, I'd show people my stick.
I know, but you can't because you're stuck.
Oh my God.
So that ended up making its way into traditional lore with the stake through the heart. However, it had nothing to do with actually the stake entering the heart, killing the vampire.
If you're dead, then your heart's not probably doing very much.
It was to stick you to the ground.
Symbolic.
Maybe.
If I put a stake through your beating heart, it's going to stop.
As long as they're laying down.
I mean, take a load off.
Stake goes all the way through and into the ground, and then yes, that is probably a
pretty
great way.
Size stake.
But that was what they did. All the way through.
Did they put one through your hip bone just to try to keep you? Just one stake?
Just one stake.
If you went to all the trouble of digging all the way down there to find this person to see if they're a vampire or not, I'd put a couple.
You would think so.
Just for the hell of it.
They were pretty sure one good one would
keep
you secure.
Okay.
Another thing they would do,
yes, ma'am,
was decapitate the dead body.
I heard you laugh.
Because I thought it was funny. They would decapitate them and bury the head elsewhere because their theory was,
yes,
if they were to get up, they would spend all their time looking for their head, trying to find it. They would not have time to kill people. Because remember,
Did
they can
they-
only work at night.
Yeah, that's true. Did they put that head in a box and ship it someplace far, far away?
Sometimes they just buried it in between their legs. And why they couldn't find it there, I don't know.
Okay, stumped me there
Yeah,
with that one.
but no, I mean, it was in the same vicinity. It just wasn't right next to.
Did they play hot and cold?
Probably.
Okay.
They probably sat there and watched. Oh, you're getting hot. No, cold.
But how would they even know? They couldn't hear you if their head's all the way over there and
They
you're
couldn't.
cold. You're over here.
And they're
Your
having
head's
to
over
feel
there.
around. They can't look.
Nope.
Um.
I got so many questions with that, but we're just gonna leave it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just leave it because you're not gonna have any
I'm
answers.
not.
Nope. That's how you like it.
Another thing they did was burn the dead body and
Did
scatter.
I not already say that?
Well,
burn
they
'em?
didn't burn the live person.
No.
No. But
No.
they did burn the dead body.
Yeah. If you burn
And
the
then-
dead body, it can't come back for you.
Exactly.
Mm.
But
Mm.
you couldn't just burn it and keep all the ashes in a pile.
Oh God, no.
You had to spread the ashes so
They
that
could
if they were
reanimate.
to reanimate,
And
it would be
animate.
harder. I mean, they could maybe get everything but their mouth, and then what?
And then the sun comes up, and then
It would just take too
you're
long.
back to ash.
Exactly.
So I would just maybe skip it. I might give up my dastardly
Mm-hmm.
deeds and just be dead.
Yep, and that was the theory.
They were
Going
just
to
gonna
all
give
this
up.
trouble, they would just be like, you know what?
This ain't worth it.
It's not going to work now.
No,
I can't do it no more.
no.
Another so okay, that was how we took care of the suspected, the proven, because we inspected their bodies and
Yes.
they were either decomposed or not decomposed, which was vampire.
Did they recompose?
Probably.
Okay. There's a backward decomposing.
Mm-hmm.
And they just turn out to be young, beautiful. Maybe that's where they get all their vampire beauty. They're supposed to be
Maybe.
so pretty and
So then they started to be more proactive.
okay.
And they did things to prevent a recently deceased person
From
coming back.
oh,
If they suspect, you're kind of shady, I bet you'll come back as a
you're shady in
vampire.
real life. You're going to be shady when you're dead too.
Right.
We're going to lock up the china and the silver. And
They
and
did things.
we're gonna put a stake through your heart.
Right, but they didn't. They did not put a stake through you, but they would bury you upside down. So that when you dug your way out,
Like face down,
Uh-huh.
or
face down,
okay.
you were laying on your belly.
I just watched Interview with the Vampire last night. Thought that you've seen it, but if you had, you'd know my question.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it.
No,
Or read the book.
I'm sure. So face down,
Face down on your stomach. That way, when you started to dig to get up, you were just going
you
deeper.
would dig all the way through to the other side of the world.
Right. They were safe.
Maybe by the time you got to the center of the earth, it would burn you up. And
Probably.
you're all done.
And you're done.
You would never figure it out.
They would also find a gigantic stone and wedge in their mouth.
Okay.
So that if they came back, they couldn't bite nobody because they couldn't get this.
I bet you if I come back from the dead, I could rip a stone out of my mouth.
They were fairly certain you could not.
If I have the strength of the damned, I bet I could break that rock.
I
bet,
mean, that
yeah.
makes sense, but
Does
not
it
to them
not?
back then.
Well, it should have.
I know.
What the hell's wrong with them?
Like if
They
you
should
can
have
get
thought.
it in there, you can get it out.
Precisely.
But no. They
They would keep vampires from biting you if they put that rock in there and broke your jaw. How are you going to suck anybody's blood with a broken jaw?
that's true.
Oh.
That's true. Another thing they would do was sever the tendons in the kneecaps, around the knees,
So they couldn't walk.
so they couldn't walk.
So the dead people couldn't walk.
Yep.
Okay.
And then they fall down.
Such a problem.
And the easiest way to prevent them from coming back was to spread poppy seeds on top of the grave.
Do we not like poppies? I love poppies.
Oh, we do too, but they believed that, which is where our lore
Mm-hmm.
of vampires needing symmetry and tidying things up
Mm-hmm.
comes from. They believed that they would be so distracted by the scattering of the poppy seeds that they would stop and try to pick up each individual one.
What on earth? Okay. Who the hell came up with that?
The Middle Ages.
That's stupid. They would try to
It
pick
is.
up all of the seeds.
They would be busy. They'd be too busy to come and eat you because they would see this mess of seeds laying
They're
around
not
and they
gonna
would have
they're
to
not
pick them
gonna
up.
eat you. They're gonna organize.
They're gonna exactly.
I thought maybe it had something to do with poppies growing and
Nope.
things, but they would pick up. Well, hell, if that's the case, they ought to throw a bunch of socks out there and see if they'll sort them.
I don't think they had socks in the Middle
I
Ages.
bet they had a pair, had something.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You could make a mess out there and,
But poppy seeds were tiny, so it would take them forever. You couldn't throw something big out there. Something they could easily find to clean up. It had to be tiny, so that it took a lot of time.
What on God's earth?
It's the Middle Ages.
I understand, but come on. They did a lot of things in the Middle Ages. All of us are here because people in the Middle Ages were able to have children and keep them alive. Correct?
That is correct.
So
yes.
they threw poppy seeds and thought that was a brilliant
and that
idea.
is how they kept their children alive.
By counting poppy
throwing
seeds.
poppy seeds so that the
vampires
had to
get
count
their
it
children
and couldn't get their kids so that they could
grow
grow and
full of shit.
procreate. And,
yes.
And
so okay, this is my question. If they organized all the little poppy seeds and then they had to go back into the dirt when the sun came up, did the villagers go out there and like mess up all their poppy
I'm sure they
seeds? Was it somebody's job to mess up the poppy seeds?
That's probably, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure there
it.
was somebody.
I doubt it. This is all
probably
a lie.
Whoever was in charge of
whoever the dumbass was that came up with the idea.
For burial, yeah. Like
poppy seeds.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Poppy
You're in charge.
seeds. Yes,
Poppy
they are
seeds.
very tiny. How would you know it was poppy seed or dirt? Dirt's very tiny too.
Exactly.
Did they organize the dirt?
They thought they would just be out there organizing, counting.
No.
Like the vampire on Sesame Street, counting all those poppy seeds.
That's a lot of numbers. Just to go back to bed and have somebody come mess up all your work the next day. That's like building a sandcastle and somebody comes over and kicks it.
And I'm sure at some point they were like, you know what? I ain't doing this again.
I'm not counting
just
more
gonna
of this shit.
lay
I'm
here.
so distracted by the poppy seeds. I'm just gonna lay here and play dead. Wow. Okay.
Enter the Age of Enlightenment.
Oh dear God. This is gonna be like 2 episodes, isn't it?
Possibly.
Okay.
So now we have the Age of Enlightenment, where they're taking all of the fun little things believed in the Middle Ages and being like, okay, guys, listen, this is really why. We're starting to have a general concept of science and can explain things a hair better. And a lot of folklore started to diminish. And vampires went up on the rise.
Oh.
There was an increase in vampire cases during the Age of Enlightenment, mainly it was primarily in rural areas, which is the population that isn't hearing all the cool sciencey things that is being discovered.
Gotcha.
And when they do, they're the ones that, like our friend from Scotland who traveled the world and wrote books about the gods and goddesses and all of the things, the fairies. This is those people. And they're like, I don't want that. I don't want that to be a disease. I want that to be from vampires.
Yep.
So
we will make it so.
And that's exactly what they did. Primarily in East Prussia.
Why?
I don't know, because
was there a population of like vampire enthusiasts there?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So it's the vampire's fault.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to see him a real life vampire.
Yeah.
But not really. Because he would suck your blood.
There were actual
straighten out your poppy
cases that were investigated by whatever officials they had at the time.
Okay.
Their police force or whatever they called it. The first recorded well and in detail.
Okay.
Was the case of Peter Blagojevich. Or something like that.
It kind of looks like my last name a little bit.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I bet these are like distant relatives.
I bet they are. Yeah. vampire people.
Mhm. He was a 62-year-old man who died.
Oh,
And after he died, he came back and he went to his son and he asked his son to feed him.
what did his son feed him?
His son refused to give him food.
What a little dirt ball. He was probably a spoiled child.
He probably was. So he comes in the nighttime and asks his son for some food, and his son says no.
You're supposed to be dead, Pops.
Yeah, pretty much what the son said.
Go back where you came from.
So the next morning, the son is telling this to his friends in the village. And then by the afternoon, the son is dead.
You should have fed him.
Vampire.
Did he starve to death like immediately?
I'm not
I
sure.
mean, that would be a fitting end.
After his son
You didn't
died,
give your dad a sandwich?
now you die.
Now you die.
Now you starve to death.
Now you starve to death immediately.
Exactly. After his son died, other villagers started to die mysteriously as well.
Because?
Vampire, because Peter was a vampire.
Well, of course. Was Peter buried upside down?
I'm not entirely sure what they, because I didn't read
Did they burn him after they suspected him of murdering?
I'm sure they did.
Did he turn the village into his minions? Did they spread out across the globe, killing,
all of the people.
making sandwiches for his dead dad?
Sandwiches for his dead dad.
Okay, well, I mean, at least he learned his lesson.
He did.
If your dead dad shows up, give him a sandwich.
Exactly. It's not hard.
It's not hard. It's doing the right thing.
It is. The second case was of Arnold Pale.
Okay.
After his death, people began to die in the area.
Like from common causes?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Carol. He got dead, and then other people got dead. So
and then
obviously,
it was all connected.
Arnold became a vampire
and killed everybody.
With
heart attacks and high blood pressure and shit like that.
And so both of these cases were thoroughly investigated. They were reported on. There are hundreds of other cases around the same time that are thoroughly investigated,
of course
reported on. Theologians.
Vampires.
Yes.
Vampires.
Theologians are reporting the vampire cases as factual. During this time, they are writing whatever theologians write. Theses and papal bulls or what, I don't know.
Academic papers.
There are so many saying this is absolutely true. This is happening. Vampires are bad. Don't talk to them. They are not your friend.
Don't talk to them.
Don't give them a sandwich.
Don't give them a sandwich.
Don't let them bite you.
But don't let them kill you the next day.
And don't die the next day, because then your dad is going to be dug up and burned.
Yeah, and don't give him a sandwich.
You should give your dad a sandwich.
Burn the sandwich with him. That's what you get. Showing up here, being all dead.
Exactly.
Wanting me to feed you. Who the hell do you think you are? Go back and be dead.
So there was an empress named Empress Maria Theresa of Austria.
Okay.
Who was like, okay, is this true or not? She needed to know. She needed like evidence because, we are enlightened.
Oh, of course.
And we want to enlighten.
Yes.
So
nothing but the facts.
Right. So
and if they're not fun facts, then I don't want them.
Exactly. She sent her personal physician to this area of Prussia.
Correct.
To investigate. He gets there and he's like, y'all's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Vampires aren't real.
Did they burn him at the stake for heresy?
No.
Well, they should have, because he's lying.
They were all like, oh, thanks for letting us know.
And it went like that.
Pretty much. Yeah, this whole Age of Enlightenment.
They sure gave up those beliefs off
really fast. Yeah. The whole Age of Enlightenment vampire belief lasted for precisely one generation.
Well, that's disappointing.
And I mean, she fixed it.
I was hoping there was like hundreds of years of fear.
Nope.
of not making your dead
Uh-uh.
dad a sandwich.
No, she sent her doctor, and her doctor was like, y'all's crazy. They aren't real. People die because that's what you live for.
Thus
death.
endeth the vampire saga.
And the people were like, oh. And then there was one or two here and there that were like, I don't believe you. I'm going to have to dig up this dead body and check. So then Empress Maria Theresa of where Austria was like, you're not going to do that. And she made laws.
That you couldn't dig up dead people?
You can no longer.
It's her fault. That's why you and I have so much trouble when we're out spelling in the middle of the night in a cemetery that we can't dig people up.
Right.
Because she
passed laws forbidding you from opening closed graves and passed laws forbidding people, forbidding the desecration of dead bodies.
They're dead. Well,
So,
we don't care.
Not only do you not get to dig them up, you don't get to bury their head elsewhere or burn their body or sever their knee tendons. She ruined all the fun.
Sounds like it before we ever got to the party. Now I'm feeling left out of something that I didn't even know I wanted to do.
Exactly.
What the hell? And now it's over.
Yep. These laws
Mm-hmm.
and this doctor and his infinite wisdom of no, they died because of natural causes, not vampires. It's essentially stopped the belief in vampires. However,
maybe the doctor was a vampire and he just wanted all of them to be able to lay low.
Well, now we have theories, and it stopped it from like the general population's belief. However, the artistic works, they were already being featured, and people were interested in it, and so that continued.
Well, sure. That's why we have
and
movies and all of that. You should watch Interview with the Vampire. I think you'd like it.
I don't really want to interview a vampire.
You don't have to. It's already being done.
Okay.
You just have to attend.
I mean, what are they interviewing him about anyway?
His scary, spooky life.
Did he do anything?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Trust Mama.
All right.
Okay. Just saying.
Maybe one of these days.
I think you should. I know you're not going to.
I know.
But...
we both know. But I like that we think that maybe I should one day.
I think you should, but you won't.
Right.
But yeah. Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Look how cute you are.
I know. I'm adorable.
I know it.
So now we have all of these artistic works, and we have all this weird documentation of the vampire trials and whatever. And so now it has kind of taken over artistic endeavors and literary works, and enter Bram Stoker
Good
with
stuff.
Dracula.
Good stuff.
And now we have our modern day vampires.
Vampires.
Yes. There is rumor that Dracula was Bram Stoker set Dracula in Romania, Transylvania, somewhere, in that area.
Vlad.
Yes. Vlad the Impaler. Who was
bloodthirsty.
Yes. There's no record of him ever actually drinking blood. However, he was vicious.
Yep. Killed lots of people.
Lots of people. You wandered into his territory and he didn't know you. You were going to be impaled. And he was going to have dinner with you, impaled as you died.
Yep.
You weren't going to get to eat. And there is rumor in different works that he would dip his bread in the blood of
why not?
The dead.
Why let it go to waste?
Right. And which is where he drank,
Yep.
Also, he was of the Dracula line, family, which actually meant dragon, but that's what the name that was given to the vampire. However, there's no actual proof that he based the vampire Dracula off of Vlad the Impaler. There was also Elizabethbathoy, who was from that area.
Yeah.
She killed she started a school
Mm-hmm.
to have little girls come and learn how to be noble.
Yeah.
Because it had to be noble.
Yeah.
And then they would go missing. And, oh, shoot.
Darn.
It was discovered because her servants eventually told on her. First, it was village people, but she wasn't becoming as young as she wanted to be
Right.
when she was just drinking the blood of the village girls. So then it had to switch to nobility.
Right. It had to be fancy blood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then her servants were like, okay, I'm tired of, we're at number like 800, and I'm tired of burying little girls' bodies. And so they told on
By
her.
800, they were tired of it.
There were hundreds.
They weren't tired of it at like 2.
No.
I mean, I like to think I would be.
I mean, I'm sure at some point they were replaced.
Oh yeah, certainly.
So the ones who reported her were probably tired after like 5 or 6, and they had an aha moment.
Yeah.
You know what? If I don't tell on her, I'm going to be one of these girls.
I might be in that hole over there. Marked serpents.
But no, there were hundreds. But she believed drinking the blood of young girls would make her appear younger, and she would bathe in their blood also.
Yes.
There was also a case of a vampire in Rhode Island in the colonial era.
Yeah.
It was a girl. She died. After she died, it's some kind of pandemic or epidemic, or anyway, lots of people died. So they needed to blame something or somebody. She died in the winter when the ground was too hard to bury. So she was stuck in an above ground like mausoleum kind of thing.
Right.
And they opened it up in the wintertime in New England. And she had not decomposed.
In the cold weather, she hadn't
Vampire.
decomposed.
Vampire.
Obviously a vampire, not because of the cold temperatures.
No. Vampire.
Well, okay, yeah, we'll go with that. Vampire. Bad girl.
Yep. So,
interesting.
Bram Stoker is where we get a lot of our folklore about that. He completely made up the mirror thing.
Sure.
But he did use some of the superstitions, like the garlic and the other stuff, in his record.
Makes for a good story.
It makes for a good story. I love that he made up the whole mirror thing. They can't see their reflection.
Right.
Why? What was his justification for that?
I don't know. Probably something to do with the silver and the purity.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Just saying.
Which he made up too.
Mm-hmm. Silver's pure.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. But there was absolutely nothing in the ancient times about silver and vampires.
Okay. Maybe it wasn't discovered back then.
Garlic and religious artifacts.
Okay.
Relics that may or may not be activated at the time.
Understood.
So anyway.
All right.
That is the history of vampirism.
I think we've hit it.
All of the best ideas come from those ancient folks.
Yes, I think they do.
And all of the funniest ideas come from the Middle Ages.
The Victorian ages.
They had their own crazies too. Yes. All
right.
They
did.
So come back to see us on Tuesdays for Superstitions and on Saturdays for Am I the Asshole?
You didn't get it backwards.
I didn't.
Yay.
Today it's the right day.
Yes, it is.
Yes. She loves you.
I do.
I have a fondness.
She does.
All right.